All right, ladies and gentlemen, back live with the Louis B. Free Radio Show, Brain Food from the Heartland. I'm delighted to have returning to the show, Stephen On. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Hi,
Good to hear
Louis.
you.
Thanks for having me back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A little bit, reintroduce yourself for new listeners, if you would.
All right. My name is Stephen Leon. I will be 41 next month. And, I've been on this radio show before promoting climate change mitigation technology. Filed a patent application for it a few years ago, and it's getting ready to be examined. And which correlates to this morning, just before coming in, you saw the Supreme Court was like, they set back some regulations or whatever. And I didn't panic because that's, it's all about the private sector with that kind of thing. So I really didn't. I was like, oh no, not again. Something else that they're pushing back. So yeah. And then, so Louis had me on here. It was that November 2021?
Yes, I believe. Yeah.
No, it was 2020. It was November 4th. It was election day.
Oh, that's right.
It was election day. And I was like, for some of the administrative policies that were going on with climate change at that very moment, it was kind of the perfect middle ground. So being from the private sector again for the past 14 years in intellectual property, working for attorneys, currently working in an office in Alexandria, and been there for a couple of years now. So time has gone on, and something I've always been autodidactic. Yeah. Autodidactic. I can't even say the
yes,
word. I am these things. You know what I mean? Like to put a definition on them, even with all the, it's just whatever. That's really not that important to me.
I love the word. Yeah. I love that word because I would say I learned another one, polymathic, autodidactic, polymathic, aged flower child for me.
Exactly.
You're young. I remember 41, and then I started to think back, Stephen. I'm thinking, maybe I don't remember. That's too far back for me.
Exactly. Interchangeable terms, right? So, let's see. I guess with that terminology there, from an early age, I remember I was in the Tiger Cubs, right? And my brother was in the Boy Scouts, and they told me we'll get you to the Boy Scouts. My aunt had moved on to something else. She had raised me for the most part before 18, at 18, to 18. And anyways, they moved on to something else. And I was like, well, what about me? So what I did was, I was like 5 or 6 years old. I just picked up this Boy Scout manual. And as much as I could read, if I can remember correctly, it was probably close to 7 chapters. I just did on my own in the backyard.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I just kept that. And I've always pretty much been that way. So second grade, I get nominated for class president. It's a new school. We moved around a lot in Northern Virginia. And it was in a Layton Hall off Oldie Highway. They changed the name. And I thought it was kind of, I was like, okay, whatever. You want to nominate me? Sure. I didn't win, but it was nice. And also remember, we had this jelly bean contest.
Uh-oh.
And I remember just guessing 240, whatever it was. And then here I am in second grade one day in the summer. And, the 6th grade girls come in, whatever, and they've just dropped the jelly bean contest winner thing on my desk, and I won that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I remember
interesting.
I was just passing by. It was just like, I saw the kids at the table one day in the spring, and they're like, oh, jelly bean contest. And I just 243.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. And again, that's part of my story too, where I was asked to go home and make an invention. Not knowing about patent law or anything, I understood what an invention was, right? So I created a way to humanely capture mice because there was a house next door that was being built. So, and I knew it had mice. So basically you take a pot, like a kitchen pot, and then like a piece of wood that's on the edge of it there, and it would act like a lever, where at the end of the lever, there would be a piece of cheese. So the mouse, rat, or whatever its own weight would leverage it down into the pot, and then you would have
humane. I love that. I love that you did a humane.
Yeah, I knew what a mousetrap was, and even my grandmother had them at her house. So you know what I mean? Like to see that snap. Now what you do with the mouse afterwards, that's something else. That wasn't the invention. And inventions like that, the title would be humane mousetrap or something.
You get them out and so release them.
The world's moving forward after our last interview, and January 6th happens. Biden's saying that he'll consider running again, and for like 20 years, I think we all kind of, tell ourselves that maybe running for president would be nice. If you're from this area where I am, Arlington, you know what I mean? Like that's, you probably think about it a lot, maybe not, I don't know. So, it's the founding, you know what I mean? Congressional District 8, Mount Vernon, George Washington's home is there and everything. So, and then it's just Obama is a huge influence to me. And like when he won his first election, I think it was at his inauguration, or was it his commencement address? He's there with his family, and he says, when the call to service, and I know what he meant by that, spiritual, you know what I mean? Like, so I decided to go ahead. It was at the beginning of the year, and I was like, I saw that what's going on in the world with everything. And this is a part of this too. If you see my shirt here, it says Media Literate, and it's by Ad Fontes Media. So I'm wearing a shirt for those who aren't tuning in with a video.
Let's see. Yeah, you described it. That's great.
Yeah. So media bias, Ad Fontes Media was developed by a patent attorney, right? So you think that I would have bias? This is me. I love this. So Vanessa Otero developed she owns a company. She's the CEO of Ad Fontes Media. And she created this media bias chart, probably around 2019. And you can go on there, adfontesmedia.com, or just Google media bias chart. And you'll see this. You'll see exactly where everyone ranks. Even you, Louis. You're not on there, I checked. But she also has podcasts.
Wow.
I mean, just knowing you, I'm pretty good at this stuff. Like where people rank on this media bias chart, like for me, it's just confirmation. I would expect that someone like Tucker Carlson would be to the far down right at propaganda. You would think that AP all the way to the top, along with CNN. Then they have a new podcast, and podcasts are different. You know what I mean? Like I could come on with something ignorant or divisive or totally positive informational. You know what I mean? It can be like that. So there's also a new podcast version that's on there. So I totally support her. I think it's amazing for me that, like there's people out there, and unfortunately that was really, we all know about this misinformation from all the issues, from science to medicine to politics to people, all that stuff, you know what I mean? And it's very easy to get caught up in what is real and what isn't. So, that's kind of why I wanted to put a little product placement there for Vanessa Otero. And again, she's a patent attorney, right? And which I respect. Patent attorneys, like you have to have a science degree and a law degree to be a patent attorney, to practice law, patent law. There's also patent agents. It's a little bit different, things like that. So, and she has been out there. It's really cool. You know what I mean? That's a way to refresh, even with consumer psychology. It's a way to get out there and to trust again. And also you can move. You don't have to just stay down there. You know what I mean? Wherever you are, or you can choose. Be like, fine. We just, you know what I mean? Let's say somebody on the left or on the far left or right decides to, you know what I mean? You just like their personality, you like their haircut, you like their demeanor, whatever it is. If they just change their information, it's the automation of false information is a huge problem. Anyways, let's move on. We don't have that much time. Which a lot of this stuff
bring us a little bit forward to what you're doing
on
now.
January 18th, 2022, again with January 6th and all the stuff that goes out there and Biden's health. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to run for president. So with my autodidactacy, I'm going to go ahead and try and see what I already know about law and then learn what I can and get people's ideas. I'm all over if you go to my website, www.stephenleon.us, you can see, just go on a magic tour of reality. It's like, so I registered with the FEC, I wrote a written declaration January 18th. At that point, it was like right in candidate. And then, as things have evolved since then, I've decided to go ahead and put a petition out there. You'll see that.
It's on your site.
A way on my site. You'll be able to get the attention of your congressperson and do it that way. Otherwise, I'm an independent guy. You know what I mean? I'm a IP paralegal, and I make enough, to get by, and in my spare time and all that. And, I'm not asking for donations at this point. So I'm kind of doing this all on my own. But anyway, so I built this thing together, and I look at this thing like an invention. You know what I mean? I have patent pending, as I mentioned. I have a design patent out there, some other provisional patents. So that's what I look at. I look at the U.S. Constitution as every word of it is like, it's like intellectual property. Again, and if you can't trust a media literacy, media bias chart from Ad Fontes Media, who can you trust? Because again, if you know history, in our early foundations, when George Washington was dealing with the matters of France, and they were going through their revolution, they wanted our help against the British, and Thomas Jefferson was all tied up in that. So George Washington had assigned him as one of the first early patent examiners. So, you know what I mean? If you've ever seen that really historically accurate Adams documentary on HBO, it's really cool. You really get our foundations in there. So I look at it that way. I look at everything in the Constitution from all of it. That's us. You know what I mean? And then, of course, there's what the president, how that fits in it. And let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the solutions, and you'll be able to puzzle that in. So 7-point plan. I came up with this.
And again, that's on your website, stephenleon.us.
That is on my website. And I'm going to go ahead and pull that up for myself.
And let me say hi to Jack.
I use the same thing. I have it you go to the multimedia and events tab. Nope. It's the 7-point and propositions tab. And I use it myself. I have this copied, and I put it on my wall at home. And so let's start from the top: Decarbonizing Industry and Gross Domestic Product Protection Act. Now that's huge. Who doesn't want to hear about a Gross Domestic Product Protection Act, right? I have some ideas. I'm writing a book. This is huge also. Reforming America is a book that I'm going to be publishing mid-November of this year. That will outline all of the stuff in detail. There'll be some draft bills in there. People can get the feel for it. They can even include stuff. There's organizations that I'm a member of, like Move On. I can create a poll and do it that way. You know what I mean? Your voice will be heard with me. And that's what
that's important. Yeah.
My campaign is independent. I'm a registered Democrat, always voted that way. Parties have become, I think Jennifer Lawrence probably said it best on Represent Us. There's a video out there where our wants and needs, because of all the money and bureaucracy, just like any big corporation, it can get lost in translation. Not all corporations, but you know what I mean? So Decarbonizing Industry and Gross Domestic Product Protection Act. Okay, so we all know that we have jobs overseas. So we're going to bring it back. I can legislate that. I would have to go and speak with the leader of China and ask for it. I'm just spitballing here. 30% of our labor needs to come back here, right? Because I can't just say 100% because that's going to shock them. We have an interconnected economy. You can't just start shutting down economically like that. Why would you do that? It's not going to work. You know what I mean? In previous administrations, there was a trade war with China, and that had really affected big tech. In my last interview with you, Louis, there was the TerraPower machines, which uses depleted uranium, which is no more volatile than lead. I know it scares people, but it's good, safe stuff. The CEO testified in Congress that it's walk away safe, to quote the CEO of TerraPower. So because of that trade war, we couldn't make those. TerraPower couldn't make them. Now they're back into the game. It's good. So anyways, I would have to do something like that, which also will tie into something that would be in my propositions of national security at the borders. That's an emergency. I have to listen to that. I have to hear that. Just because I'm in Arlington, Virginia, and we have crime,
sure,
we have desperation. People get economically depressed, and they have no other choice. I can understand that. I have been fortunate enough to not have that. You know what I mean? I can't look down on that. I have to listen to that.
Yeah, you have to break.
So we don't have immigrants coming over here tearing it up. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, people commit crime. It could have nothing to do with them being immigrants, but there is a crisis. Like, when somebody's at that podium and talking, I can tell when they're being genuine or not. And I heard the voices, my friends on the right. I have friends on the right, and they're calling for an emergency. I do not. A wall's far too expensive to maintain. You want tech and skilled personnel over there. And then again, how that ties into the Gross Domestic Product Protection Act, we can negotiate. The reason why they come over here, and I know this because my uncles, you know what I mean? I worked carpentry and painting, all that stuff with my uncles. And a lot of folks, you pick them up, you know, at Home Depot, whatever. They work for a few years. They cash in, cash out, and then may or may not pay taxes, and then build a house where they're from, and that's it. You know what I mean? That affects us. It affects our dollar. So give them jobs. Decarbonized industry. We can create this tech, and that also ties into the propositions that I have. So again, with climate change, I call it terrestre. I invented a word there, all right? Terrestrial and extraterrestrial, terrestre, so that could be the moon. I could say terrestrial embodiment, that could be a mountain or plateau, whatever. So, you know, as an inventor, it's cool. Like we get to invent
things and words. I'm talking with Stephen Leon, StephenLeon.us for more information. Let's talk a little bit more about, again, that tipping point for you to decide to run. You touched on it a little bit earlier. When was the point where you said, that's it, I'm doing it? I mean, you gave some really good reasons. Was there like something
Trump. I understand how he thinks. I understand how progressive he is when it comes to his will. And I knew he was going to start early. So I started earlier.
Tipping point.
That was the crux.
I want to touch on a couple of other things on your 7-point plan. Talk with us about the Human Obscenity and Protection and Recovery Act.
All right. So, perfect example. My son. You know, he was born in 2000, and he came to live with me again at the age of 12. So, got him an iPad, and there was an app on there that could track all of his. It could, you know, filter out stuff that children shouldn't be watching.
Oh, good. Oh, wow.
But they found holes in it. He still was able to, you know what I mean? Like, you can post stuff and all this different, you know, and even when it comes to protest, and this isn't what I'm about to propose here is not a suppression of speech. It's just the obscenity. In Virginia, I can't just go around cursing. I mean, no one cares, you know, if I drop the F-bomb or S-bomb once in a while. They even encourage, that helps. You know, the word helps. But if I'm out there protesting, I've been to President's Park. I mean, it's right across the river. I've seen there are children around here for crying out loud. Putting a noose up out, even if it's just directed at a VP, at Pence, that's what the intent. But you know what I mean? Like, if you're black folk and you see something like that, you know what I mean? Like, wow, no, that's obscene, right? So there's lots of things that have affected. So I'm not saying that we would make material on the internet that is adult and perfectly legal in the art form that it is, even if it's at an apex. I don't even watch stuff anymore. I'll be straight up. Just not good for it. It's not real. Don't need it. Thank you. But that doesn't mean that it should, like, I don't drink. That doesn't mean that I can, you know, have anything about Amendment 18 or whatever. People have the right to drink, right? I'm not advocating against that. But so that stuff messes people up. You know what I mean? There's a lot of
the kids these days. Again, you know, me being an old guy, and I've said this a lot, the access to pornography from the young developing mind that I'm sure can't really, I don't think, can't wrap their heads around it, can't understand it. It changes things at that young age, and how it influences it. And that is really disturbing to me. That kids, when you said about the program, that it has holes in it, so they can still access that.
Right. So Dr. Drew Pinsky I grew up listening to a lot of him in the late 90s with Adam Carolla. It was called Loveline.
Yeah.
And he said it right there. You know what I mean? Like how that stuff, the mind isn't ready yet. You're just going through the early developments, and it shocks it, and it can mess you up. You're probably more susceptible to drugs. You may have had problems in the home, but and then it becomes the thing to do. Right. And then, obscenity, human obscenity protection recovery. So you would probably, I'll put this in the book. This is something important to note, that in my propositions here, it had the two classes, things that are alpha, legal class, and then beta. So alpha, climate change emergency, right? And also national emergency at the borders. Borders, that includes Canada, right? And then the financial stuff is beta, and it's a little interconnected in that way. So to say that you should probably have a license, or there should be something on there, you should be prepared. Like if you're a student, that's fine, access to a computer in that way, but just like the broad scope internet, just not ready for it. I'm sure that every parent in America is probably saying thank you. Both parents, America has grown to a place where, sure, maybe a parent could stay at home and take care of the domestic stuff while another parent would go and work. But because of, America was built, after World War II, and which was a consequence of what happened over there. It was not its purpose. You know what I mean? Like Asia's destroyed. Europe's destroyed. We set up shop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we started pioneering, and now we've gone excessive, and we all know it. So, with everything. So, and where, again, like you'd have to prepare children. You know what I mean?
And they should be protected from that.
Right. So then the protection, and then the recovery of it too. So to have, there are programs out there for family matters and things like that, but sometimes we need money for that kind of stuff. Some of those stuff are so that's essentially what that is. It's the protection and recovery of it. So it'd be great that there'd be someone, at any of the protesting that I go to, even if it's like seeing, fetuses all gored up and everything, you know what I mean? Like there's children around here, you know what I mean? Like, I think the rated R, like I'm from Virginia. You're not allowed to just go out there and be rated R. You know what I mean? You're just not, you're not allowed, it's just that simple. So,
kids need protected from that. What about the intellectual property justice?
So intellectual property justice is that ties into a lot of the things that are going virtually, stuff with copyrights. With that human obscenity protection, you can have what is this thing called revenge pornography? You can have somebody, you can meta tag someone on there, someone who it's not them, or it could have been something from their past, or whatever have you. You know what I mean? Something like that. Also, the intellectual property justice ties into one of the propositions I have under the innovative finance, was it the 12 U.S.A. virtual currency regulation? And that's going to sandbox. So where the dollar stays the intrinsic value of, it always will be. And people are just, So like when you're down there, and that will create a more fascinating and interesting cyber world. You can create your own digital artworks. You can copyright it. You can negotiate terms to it. You can maybe if Microsoft, you know what I mean? Like you could play a game of Halo and, be like actually play for money that you could cash out on, not just like points to buy more Microsoft stuff. Maybe, I don't know. I can't speak.
Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah. Stephen, I don't even know what that Halo, again, I'm an old guy, but I obviously game.
United States military, the Marines. Okay. So, that's what that is. That also goes to counter piracy reformation. You know what I mean? That's there, where it's just rampant, after COVID, just, people getting desperate or for fun or whatever, don't want to get a real job, whatever it is. We have, there's more jobs than we can fill because people want things quick and easy. Man, get up, go to work.
Yeah.
And I get it. Some people don't want to because of the price gouging that they're doing. Again, in my plan, one of my propositions is to have a price gouging mitigation it's the taxonomy that and the classes that would be that for if you were to raise wages, depending on what it is you're selling, you can't raise your price of goods and services past a certain point. You really have to look at that whole thing. A lot of that stuff is privileged information, or if it's out there, it's going to take some digging, for myself to really speak about it eloquently. But in the dynamics of it, it can be done. You know what I mean? So if we go back to Human and Environmental Reprimands Act, that's a little bit of both. Right now, the current administration has pushed something for paying reprimands for slavery. You know what I mean? Think about it. Like, you don't know the resentment, what it's like to, let's say if your last name is Jefferson or something like that, you know what I mean? And to see these monuments, but nobody like gives you that, like you haven't inherited. I don't know how much evidence there is. I know I went to the George Washington Masonic monument in Alexandria. It's publicly funded, or it's privately funded. It's not, because George Washington was a Mason. It's pretty cool. You go in there, there's a Bible. You know what I mean? You get to see like where he used to sit and learn about his principles and morals. And clearly he was Christian, but he didn't, that was, they were fine with other religions too. So, but to know what Masonry is, to see that, it's like, wow. Anyways, so,
bear with me just a minute, Stephen. Bear with me. You're listening to the We Be Free Radio Show, Brain Food from the Heartland, copyright Be Free Radio Limited 2022, produced by the lovely Ms. Bunny Face in cooperation with White Rapper Productions. I'm talking with Stephen Leon, .us for more information. Tell me how you see your campaign moving forward.
With the resources that I have at present, I will be writing this book. I've already drafted half of it. Yeah, all the things that keep on happening, from all the Supreme Court decisions and what have you, have had me to include more things. So I hope, I'm pretty sure I'm at a stopping point. Even then, that doesn't mean it's in the book that I write. But it's a part of my strategy called Reforming America. And it will do just that, hopefully. It's an applied social sciences book for today. Right. And my strategy is to self-publish that. There's a really cool place called Lulu Self-Publishing. I'll have digital copies of it, probably for $5. I'm not going to, really. Yeah. I've never been an excessive capitalist, but I do have costs and
sure.
Things like that. But that's totally self-supporting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out there trying to wow you with my whatever bias to feed into you or blah, blah, blah. No. So now I have location. Very grateful and blessed for bread and butter Virginian, both mommy and dad's side. Dad's side immigrated as early as the 1840s in Virginia, and mom's side as early as 1960s. So all the way Virginia, right? Northern Virginia. So Congress is right there. I can walk there. I could hang up phone, not cost me a penny. In fact, I might even need to lose some weight. You know what I mean? Just use those calories from here and just drop a book off. Just walk right in to every single member of Congress. Right. And hopefully I can get some momentum that way. That's my strategy. And then through 2023, have people read this, talk about it. Oh man, I get on social media. Hardly anyone ever challenges me on these solutions, on these propositions. It's just negative. And I'm just like chewing them out. Just like, I have no problems from Park Avenue to the park bench. If you're going to come at me with some stupid thing, God, please can we please talk about the solutions? You know what I mean? Like, I think if you look through my social media, I've proven it. You're not going to win. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to win by using divisive language.
That's right. And
solutions that don't work.
Yeah, and they're too often there's no solution. It's just, I've always said it's very easy to identify problems. We can all identify problems in our personal life, in the United States, wherever. It's the solutions that are challenging. So totally. People come at you about that?
Well, yeah, and it's systematic because, again, this all started with Project Alamo. Obama would say that these things were budding, but Project Alamo, and that was the Cambridge Analytica Trump scheme that basically weaponized resentment and bias and yada, 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 and it got into people's heads. And it's so easy to attack that reptile brain. Yeah, it's easy for me to pull up a website and see a woman on there and doing what, we just talked about that, right? But that's not real life. I can't just treat women like that, you know what I mean? Or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's very easy to get into the reptile mind, but to get into the prefrontal cortex, the executive level of the brain, if you put your thumb inside your hand, make a fist, and you see your thumb is tucked inside there, the pinky there will be your prefrontal cortex. And then all the different layers of the brain. The thumb is your cerebellum. That's your reptile. That's the primal stuff. That's the job. That's the partner. That's the community. And then it goes down. I've said this before. All analogies break down, right? It goes down your spine, and then this is an arm. That's where that analogy breaks down. So, and people think it works. I actually became victim to it myself. I saw it working for Trump. I saw it. So what I did was I was in the Citizen Climate Lobby. And there's bureaucracy there. They want HR 763. It's the Carbon and Dividends Act to start to tax some of the carbon to, so other things can move in. I was like, great. What about all the other ones, right? And they were talking about, I'm gonna call them out. They were talking about not having special interest, your own private interest. Like I couldn't promote a land industry in it, you know what I mean? But then there's somebody who knows someone and they're selling a book, and I called them out on it. I was like, and I got frustrated, and I thought if I used blunt, divisive language, but they kicked me out. They kicked me out because of it. I joined back. I learned so much from Citizens Climate. Don't take this out on them. And this is my impartiality here. I've learned more about climate change and the technology and the people that know what they're doing from Citizens Climate Lobby than wow. And within 2 months, I learned that during the beginning of COVID. I joined, absorbed everything. That's why I know we don't have time with that. That's another big reason why I'm running. We do not have time, ladies and gentlemen. You think, Biden put something out recently that said we have a narrow window and this is it. So we do not have time for climate deniers or anyone who does not. That's my biggest thing right there. And with that, I can fix all this other stuff in the process. So did I get off?
No, go ahead.
Topic to your question.
Yeah, I've got questions. Go ahead.
Yeah. By what time are we stopping?
We're good for about another 15 minutes. About 20.
Okay. Okay. What I know, just by looking at, let me finish what I was saying about the resentment memes of Project Alamo. And now we're at a place where, I think, for people, if I like the psychology of any game, right? And if you voted for Trump and you saw the events of January 6th, I think most people see slowly, that's got to be a shock to think that, here's the third generation rich guy who's made money off of selling horse meat in brothels in his third generationness to thinking that he could fix the country. Clearly it didn't work.
Well,
you know what I mean? So
Stephen, forgive me for interrupting you.
Sure.
I see the parties as the problem today. You were touched on that earlier.
There's something about pioneers, people who get to, if it's Nintendo or the Beatles, when I say Nintendo, like role-playing games and the Legend is the Ocarina of Time, how well they did that, or the Beatles with where they were with tech, and George Washington. So he warned very sternly, and he saw how divisive it was becoming. We're all united. We have a brand new country. We get to make our own laws. It's us, right? Yeah. This is something new, and the world's never seen it. But he started to see how things started to fracture. And that's exactly where we're at right now. So I can't be heard. I got shut out of a Democratic training seminar because I was advocating for a particular solution. And they were like, just shut up and listen. This isn't about your campaign. It's about, and I was like, wow. And then they kicked me out. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, just cancel. I was like, oh man, I'm a registered Democrat. Just cancel me. Oh man, don't cancel me. And this is no divisiveness to the Democratic Party. Democratic Party at large is pretty much about the general welfare, right? And then but again, the excessive part of that, can we afford it? You got to look at it with the right thing. We got to be fiscally responsible. We can do that with certain things. That was my watch. That wasn't the little mallet thing. This is huge. Big data conglomerate tax. I kind of claimed it was already out there. There's a hashtag called tax big data, and I kind of claimed it too. And that's huge. There's
tell us about that. Tell us about
that. This is the Committee for Economical Development. It's all on my social pages. You'll see there. I have a professional one for Stephen Leon for President of the United States of America, and then my personal one. So I get to express myself. If it's a music, I don't relate to every single word or whatever, but then on my right, it's more professional. It shows you exactly what that is. So you'll see this article that's in there it's the Committee of Economical Development, and they're saying through their research that there is $1.3 trillion in just taxing data. Again, there's taxonomy there. Wow. We can break this down. That also ties into your data and sharing. You know what I mean? Like you can choose to share your data and actually get tax breaks because that will start to offset. Again, with price gouging mitigation, the virtual currency regulation, the big one. This is huge. If I like to dream, you know what I mean. Sure. if I was elected, I'm sitting in the Oval Office in 2026 in the Situation Room, the units establishment. That is I think actually in August. I haven't heard anything otherwise. That NASA is going to be launching an orbital mission to asteroid 16 Psyche. This thing's 140 miles in diameter. And it's guesstimated to be in value of somewhere's 18 zeros, $10,000 quintillion. Whoa! We gotta tax it. I'm not saying excessive tax either. No. The federal government does not work that way. If you know what you're talking about, we just don't. So we can pay for this stuff. You know what I mean? We can totally pay for this. We can eliminate the next pandemic or know exactly how to using technology, how to get it out of there. People want to say this and that about Bill Gates. Sure, Microsoft side and personal life, none of my business. But what he's doing with the Bill and Gates Foundation is amazing. You know what I mean? Like how he's able to turn $1 into $7 economically just from where he sits and innovation, things like that. So, electronic voting. I mean, what you want to talk about gerrymandered? No, we're going to get rid of that if we can. That's a beta. That's totally beta. We still need to have a paper trail. There still needs to be a physical exchange between a federal system and then, the United States Postal Service. Something, again, beta, I'm formulating that out. Just a few steps. Virginia, we have automatic voter registration. That ties into one more thing I'd like to mention.
Go ahead.
Ballotpedia. If you're tired of these, and there might very well be candidates on the left or right, that you like, or in the middle or not, whatever. But if you go to Ballotpedia, you can really see, I'm on there, I'm a registered Democrat, but you can really see an independent view of it and what they're about. And I'm sure that if I had it my way, I would just be completely independent, like some George Washington or something like that. I mean, I would never be George Washington, but, you know what I mean? Like, why don't you just, the world's a big, loud place. You know what I mean? Who knows about Stephen Leon, you know what I mean? And things that he's done, how much money he has or not, you know what I mean? And, but what about his solutions, blah, blah, blah. Just keep it word of mouth, but we don't have time. So, but if you go to Ballotpedia, you can go on there and you can see, for yourselves what candidates are out there. And rather than just because your party nominates, is that really the best option?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. There's a little bit of good in the worst of us and a little bit of bad in the best of us. I get that. On either side, whoever, human beings were like that.
Tell me, automatic registration in Virginia?
Yeah, well, no, not automatic. I phrased that wrong.
Okay, that's right.
You can register to vote online.
I see.
So you can register. They'll mail you something, which will tie into the DMV. You got to have a license. You know what I mean? I tell someone, did I not mention codifying prenatal volition under 42 U.S.A. That's your codification of abortion. That's your care for prenatal volition. People want to, how do you legally, how do you define a child? Well, I'll tell you, a child is legally defined with a social security number. Legally, everything else is no one's business. So does that mean you have to get a social security number? Basically, yes, right? Because you're not going to be able to get a job, a license, credit, et cetera, et cetera. And that sucks. You know what I mean? Then I make you, let's say, like I'm the boss, right? I make you get a social security number, but that I got you covered. That's why, I'm not going to, your price gouging mitigation vote, do it electronically, it all ties in together. I'm doing the best I can and keeping it as simple as possible with charts and graphs and little fun,
Talk Stephen Leon, again, StephenLeon.us. Talk with us a little bit about safety of electronic voting, because I know you understand tech very, very, very well.
Yeah. So basically, what you would be doing is you have to accord to your state's thing. But again, this is a federal thing too. So we've come to the place of trusting our financial systems, a lot of other things, medical records, the things that are the most vital to us. We have done that electronically. So why not voting? But we need to validate. That's something that you don't want to get messed up. If someone hacks your bank account or whatever, there's ways that you can, get that fixed. But when it comes to voting, that's pretty big. So, and it's got to be constitutional. It has to be for citizens. You know what I mean? So we have to validate where you live. You have to go to the DMV. You know what I mean? And if it's called that way, everywhere else in every other state. Anyway, Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yeah.
So it would be a twofold where you would have some sort of database where you could, you probably register states, and then when it comes to the federal elections, or the presidency or Congress, then you would be able to, or at least Congress, maybe Senate. I don't know. Again, you'd have to look at these classifications and see what you could in accordance to what is principle in the Constitution. So, but again, it's just a two handshake. It was a term that's used a lot in tech, handshake. Where it's almost like a two-step authentication between your mailbox, your United States Postal Service mailbox. Anyone that does not advocate or calls the United States Postal Service can't be trusted or is a joke. I'm telling you, love I love the United States Postal Service.
They do a great job. Yeah.
Everyone loves them. And I mean, if I want to get something done at UPS or FedEx, like with some kind of sign or whatever, I go to them. But, if I want something federally guaranteed, not private sector, I go to the United States Postal Service. And that's where a lot of jobs that you would have at the USPS, and we can pay for them clearly with some of the things that I mentioned. Again, just that two-step kind of thing where there's a federal database, and then there's that hand copy, get mailed to you. You could verify it online, and then it gets checked that way. And also keeping the same kind of ways that they count currently. You'd still have to keep the options out there for people that want to do a walk-in ballot or just the traditional way. And even that is evolved. We all know what happened with the Chad and Bush. You know what I mean? I have a soft spot for Texas Ranger over there, so don't get that wrong either. Kept us safe. A lot of people don't understand that, but I do. But
a lot of people, still want that. Probably older people that still want to be able to go in and fill out the ballot.
Right. No, that's it. That's why I call it a beta. And when you go live with that, if you've seen the Man of the Year movie with Robin Williams and how that got messed up, that was, come on. It's a movie, and that they had that. It almost seemed like they didn't go into many details. It almost seemed like it was entirely electronic. No. Again, you got to have, it'd be nice. You know what I mean? Like if you get mailed something, maybe on some kind of recycled medium, you know what I mean? Or just have a piece of history of who you voted for, and that's your validation. So it just eliminates any kind of voter fraud and all this other stuff, and gerrymandering. That is the most unconscionable. I'm going to go ahead and call out, what's his name? DeSantis with his unconstitutional gerrymandering stuff over there. You know what I mean?
You anticipate the book, Reforming America, to be out this fall, correct?
Yes, that is my, because I want the people to really read this thing and just, really look at it take the whole year. So just read it amongst yourself. You know what I mean? You're not going to see me on television kissing babies and all kinds of stuff like that. And just like, you know what I mean? You look at my social media and see me talking and handshaking to people.
Yeah.
This is a service position. I'm a volunteer at church meetings. You know what I mean? I go to church. I volunteer. I help out the disadvantaged. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't do this for money. I do this for attention. I'm in out one term. That's it. That's it. I don't.
That's the way. Yeah.
Should be right. Exactly. And it's setting a new precedent too. Like there's a hashtag out there, future president. I was. They're not my official godparents, but the people that built Tyson's Corner, they founded the West Group. My grandmother cleaned their home for 30 years. She was their housekeeper, really, is what it was. And they gave my son Colin for Christmas a couple of things. One of those things was a future president shirt. This is
Yeah,
this is like 2005. So I just claimed that and setting a precedent for all future presidents that want to really, you know what I mean? Like I saw this kid in a wheelchair, you know, and I was like, oh, FDR, future president. You know, I just give him like a little heart or whatever, and little things. You know what I mean? There are kids that probably think about this stuff at a young age, but they don't understand. I can't talk to them about a human obscenity protection recovery act.
When you know what I mean? So take another minute, and tell us about the website, StephenLeon.us.
So StephenLeon.us. The first section there is just kind of breaks down the most, I mean, I can't say priority. I mean, you see my core values, empowering women. You know, I'm already looking at VP candidate. I will say this, I'm not going to call anyone out, but I need, with some of the stuff, I would definitely like to give an offer to somebody to be a working VP. You know what I mean? Where they could help out with some of this the international finance stuff, and maybe even legal.
You're a really fascinating guy, and I do want to catch up with you down the road a little bit and see how things are going. I'm looking forward to the book, but people can read all about it. We've got links up at louisfreeshow.com and wfmj.com, or just go directly to stephenleon.us for more information. I'm glad we did this. Let's do it again soon.
Definitely, Louis. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Stephen Leon, again.